Hello, ladies, and I guess anyone else out there. This is Coffee Brown, that's me, and this is my channel, Coffee Spills the Tea. Before I go any farther, please like this video, subscribe to my channel, and share this channel with everyone you know, all your friends, all your. I'm looking for black women who are feeling the same as me. We are in this in the United States. We are black females. We are a bit tired. We know that this last election was a referendum about black women, and it just me personally, it got me really down. It made me feel very much alone, and I just started saying to myself, "It's time to go." I'm mentally checking out. I am physically checking out. I am going to do whatever it takes to get myself to feeling normal. And so I'm kind of chronicling this. And I think there are other women out there going through the same thing as me. And that's why I have this channel going. I don't know where it's going right now. But I do know that as I continue to move towards where I want to go, it's going to evolve into something that I think is going to be very meaningful. So it's good to get in on the ground floor. Yeah. So again, like this video, subscribe to my channel, hit the notification bell so that you get a notification every time I upload a new video to the channel, and share it. Share this video. But, today I just wanted to make a video because I'm just saying to myself, what are we going to do? Because these crazy people are acting a fool, and it is making us more unsafe than ever. Like, I feel just mentally unsafe. First and foremost, physically unsafe, and I'm going to explain why momentarily. Well, you know what? Let's start now. Let's start now. Here's what I did. I said to myself, I'm just going to run through in my mind and write down everything that happened in the news cycle between Monday and Friday. Friday was February 28th. Friday at about 3 p.m. That's when, I'm just going to say, shit went sideways. And just went nuts, crazy, like just cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. And so I started writing things down. Like, what did I remember from like the news cycle? And I just wrote them on these note cards just from memory. Just what did I remember from the news cycle? And I said, I'm just going to write it out and I'm just going to read it off to you. Because the more I started writing, the more I realized like how crazy the news cycle. And I don't mean just regular news. Sorry, I just had to move things. I mean like news that was like, this is crazy. News that's like, I'm scared. News that was like, this is going to affect my life. Not just my life, but like, your lives, everybody's lives, So I'm just going to run through, and I'm actually going to read number one, if not last, second to last. But, so there was a digital tech staff for the federal government. And so as they've been like decimating these government agencies, they've been moving people around, and they finally are like, okay, they have this kind of Office of Digital Technology staff. And so they have about 40 people on staff. About half of them are like regular government employees that know everything. Then the other half was like muskrats, man boys, like big balls and all those other stupid people. These kids that don't know anything, that were reportedly going around to each of these people that were left and asking them what they did, how they did it, what their political affiliations were. And these people are like grown people. Like, why, man, boy, why are you asking me questions? Like, out my face. So they wrote a letter, sent it up to Orange Savior's office, to his chief of staff. I just remember her being Susan something. And said, we quit because we are not going to be here to dismantle the United States government, therefore, like our country, and cause chaos and cause all kinds of issues that are going to basically take our country down and leave us vulnerable. We quit. So, like, that just leaves the man boys there, trying to figure out what's going on with, like, basically everything that is technology related for our government. So they quit. I don't know when these things happened. It was just this week. The USDA, well, first I know they went in there and they said, okay, we're just going to start going in, just dismantling USDA, which crazy. But the USDA ended grants or they ended giving federal funding to HBCUs, especially the ones that are the HBCU land grant schools. There's about 20 or so of them. So basically, that just cuts them off at the knees, and they don't have funding for kids to go to school and learn. And already we're having issues because, a lot of these kids were coming from, I think, if not all of them, were coming from STEM programs. They're going to be scientists. They're going to work with agriculture. They're going to be working with technology, teaching these kids technology. These are the best and brightest kids, and they have no money. There was a public outcry, and the next day, the USDA said, okay, we'll reinstate it. We'll reinstate. Who knows how long that's going to last? I don't know. Could be a publicity stunt. I don't know. Let's see. All these town halls have been happening in Republican districts, and everybody's going nuts, and they're screaming at the congressmen and the senators that are out there trying to justify these three words: waste, fraud, and abuse. Now, the only thing that I see that is waste, fraud, and abuse is Muskrat and Orange Savior, because they are a waste of space, they are frauds, and they are abusing our Constitution and this country. So, that has been all week. And then they said, oh, they're just Democrats that are coming in, and they're just sabotaging our town hall meetings, because really the people are behind us. So then how people are going to these town halls and saying, I am a Republican. I am not a plant. I am not a Democratic actor. So, like, now they have to, like, physically state this because they're at these town halls yelling at people. Let's see. Marco Rubio was overseas, and he had this disastrous trip. He should not have been made Secretary of State because he has no diplomacy, and he's a fool. And so he's sitting up there justifying why we should, why the Europeans should, like, justify this Hitlerish type of regime that's coming out of Germany, and why they should back Russia, and just all this crazy stuff. And the people there are just like, all these, like, world leaders are like, what are we looking at? And so then it took, like, the German prime minister, I think, and like the British prime minister and the French prime minister, like, all of them are coming up saying, Marco Rubio is a fool. So he basically made the United States look like fools. Okay, I'm only on number 6. Then they had the Trump Gaza commercial, right? Where they had, like, they're saying, oh yeah, they're, like, running around, and it was some kind of Trump thing, and it was on his Truth Social, which I think he called it one time because he couldn't pronounce the name of his own social media site. And people are like, I guess, like, the MAGA people are like, oh, well, he was just doing that for fun because he likes to drive the libs crazy. Well, here's the thing. Number 1, it doesn't drive me crazy. Number 2, it's not a joke. I think he does it as a joke to see how far he can push the buttons. And if then people don't react, then he's just like, okay, then it must be good. And he'll convince himself all along that this is something that he should do, and then he's just going to do it, and then he's going to be like, well, no one said anything. So it's kind of like a catch-22 here. And it's like, you don't know how to react because He's just throwing stuff out there. You know, you throw enough mud, and something's gonna stick at some point. So, okay, so that stupid commercial came out that was just stupid. And throwing money in the air and saying, like, yeah, like, not gonna work. But apparently it is. Um, oh, yes. Then, let's see. Thursday and Friday, he gave, or whoever it was, Muskrat, gave all U.S. aid workers 15 minutes to come in, bring their own boxes or whatever, and clear everything out in 15 minutes. And I just know this because I live outside of our nation's capital. And I know people that work at USAID, and I know USAID, if you want to get technical about it, because that's what they're really called. And I will tell you why, and momentarily why that affected me as well financially. But the people that were there said they literally had men with guns standing outside their office calling out and counting down the times. Like, what are you going to do when it gets down to like the last 30 seconds and they haven't left? You're going to shoot people? Is that what you're going to do? Like, okay, this is our country now. Okay. Let's see. Republicans denying. Oh, yes. The Republicans were denying the Russians were the aggressor against the Ukraine. So this is a new story that's come out. Like, yeah, like, no, like Ukraine invaded Russia. And that's what started this whole war, right? And so, like, all this time, it hasn't been it's been the Ukrainians. Like, they were their aggressor, and so now Russia's just fighting back. Those poor Russians. Okay, okay. We all know that's not true. Like, we all have eyes, and we're not maggots. I don't even call them MAGA anymore. I call them maggots. We're not maggots, so we know what we see with our eyes. We know when we're looking at January 6th and we're seeing all these people, and I will say about 95% of them were white, climbing the Capitol like monkeys with like weapons that they had made up from like grabbing things like poles and sticks, and they had brought bear spray and had attacked the police officers and were taking their tear gas and beating these people and taking the flags of the United States, like, and taking the sticks from the flags to beat these police officers. But they're supposed to be, they back our police, they back our military, right? But now it was a day of love. It was a day of love. Yeah, they love to maim and insurrect. That's what they love. But anyways, so we saw that with our own eyes. Now they're trying to rewrite the history about Ukraine and Russia. And I'm not going for that. So don't you go for it either. Let's see. Musk got contracts totaling $80 billion. Okay, for his companies like Tesla trucks and Starlink. Okay, now I want you to keep this in mind, because the amount of money that USAID got for running humanitarian efforts around the world, where people were depending on USAID so that they don't die, so that they have food, and children don't starve to death, and like people have water and public health. Okay, I think it was something, and don't quote me on it, something like 40 billion. I will try to find that before the end of this. I'll take a pause and I'll just quickly check. So Musk got more for his Tesla trucks and stuff than USAID got for their year, which was already appropriated. So where is that money going? It's probably going straight over to Musk. But remember, he's not going to do anything if there's a conflict of interest. He's not going to get involved. Okay, so I suppose there's no conflict of interest when the Tesla company, which personally pays Musk's salary, gives him money so that he can live. Because really what he does is, right, he doesn't have any money personally, but what he does is he just goes to the bank and he borrows against his Tesla stock that he owns, And then he lives off of that and then pays back the bank through like interest and stuff like that because he has more money than literally anyone on the planet. So then that way he can avoid having to pay taxes because everything is loans, right? So but there's no conflict of interest if he gets $80 billion, which has increased his net worth overall since Orange Savior got the office. He's like, I think, not doubled, but almost doubled his net worth. That's a real short period of time. But there's no conflict of interest. Musk fired hundreds of FAA workers. FAA, hundreds. Now, mind you, we already have a shortage of FAA workers, and I don't care what he says. I don't believe that they fired non-essential workers. Why? Because the week before that, they had fired the entire nuclear department, the ones that oversee our nuclear arsenals, and didn't realize it. Then had to scramble to get them unfired, which they're probably still doing. Because ain't nobody going to be able to handle nuclear arsenals. And there's a reason why I know this, is because I know people that work there. And do you know how they learn how to handle nuclear arsenal? It's in their heads. You can't take like your note cards in. You can't take a phone in. You can't take a notebook in and write anything down. And I know this because I know people who work there. So what do? They teach it to them by heart. And they basically like hard code it into their brains, everything that they do. So if you fire these people, now you got these people running around. Guess what? If somebody gets a little upset and says, you know what? I'm out this country, and they leave and they take our nuclear secrets elsewhere, we are in trouble. I do not think these people are going to do that. But they could. So if they didn't even know that they were firing these people after the supervisors that were in charge of these people told these man boys and Muskrat and whoever the Doge people that you cannot fire these people because they're overseeing our nuclear weapons, keeping them safe, making sure they don't accidentally blow up or something. Making sure that someone doesn't hack in and hack our nuclear weapons and then maybe like take it and like drop a bomb on us someplace in the middle of like Montana or something. And there goes Yellowstone. Okay, like it's like, okay. So if you can fire those people and don't know who you fired, then I'm sure when you fired those hundreds of FAA workers, you don't know who you fired. And I know they must have known that they did, because not only is there a shortage and then they fire those people, now Musk is trying to get retired FAA people to come back in. And you cannot work, and I know this because I know people who work at FAA, after the age of 56. It's like 56 in one day. So once you get to 56 years old in one day, you can't be in air traffic control anymore. You just don't have you don't have the hand-eye coordination. Your mind isn't all there anymore. Like, you're just kind of like out the pasture almost, right? Like, it's a high-stress job. You need to have 20/20 vision and stuff. I barely have 20/20 at this point. Like, I had to push real hard at my last, glasses exam. And I was just, struggling. I'm struggling with what I got. Okay? So, it goes downhill. It's just a fact, unless I get LASIK or something. And even then, your LASIK only lasts so long. So, not good. Not good. Okay, we're not even there yet. Okay. Anyways, federal parks. So they fired all these people at the federal parks. Now, here's what's not great about firing people at federal parks. When you go into the Department of the Interior and you say, let's fire all those people, they're not doing anything. Yes, they are. They're cleaning up the past. They're making sure that people aren't out there doing crazy stuff or starting fires or making sure the fires are put out or making sure the people who are supposed to be there are there or making sure there aren't like cocaine bears out there like attacking people and having them climb up trees. Like come on, like these people at the and they live at the park. So if you fire them, you literally are taking away their housing. So now they don't have money and they don't have a place to live. So now you're just making more people homeless. Okay? So you got rid of those people. And so now the national parks are like, well, we have to curtail our hours. We don't have as many people to check people in when they come to the parks anymore to like check in. Like we're only going to be open so many days a week. If you're out here in this area of Northern Virginia, DC, Maryland, we call it the DMV, DC, Maryland, Virginia, DMV. So if you're out here, there's places like Wolf Trap, where Wolf Trap has is part of the federal park stuff. So they have a lot of performances. So now it's like, okay, they were gearing up to get the volunteers because they have a lot of volunteers because it's a nice place. So they have a lot of volunteers, and the volunteers are like, I mean, well, they're like, we can't even train the volunteers to come in and work for us because, well, I mean, we just don't have the staff because right now we have to lay off all these people. So that's probably going to impact like performances and stuff like that. Okay, so be it. So now it's a problem with federal parks. Let's see. NOAA. They fired a bunch of NOAA staffers. Okay, now I need you to I know I'm trying to keep my videos shorter, but this is a long one, right? Because there's a lot of things that happened in the news cycle this week. So NOAA, it's like the National Oceanic Atmospheric something, right? I can't remember exactly. I used to work over there because I used to like work in that area, not at the one that was in Crystal City, but I worked at the one in like Maryland. And so you go there, like they're the ones that deal with like the barometric pressure and the atmospheric pressure, and they look at like the satellites and they're looking at like what's going on with the weather, and and they're looking at like a lot of stuff to deal with like the weather and climate and all that stuff. Fired. Okay, now here's what. Who likes the weather? Who likes getting the weather? I do. Okay, like I like it. Weather's good, Getting weather reports is nice, but guess who would benefit? If there just aren't any NOAA people around, who else has satellites out there that could possibly deal with, so they think, the weather? Because they've got satellites in low orbit. Musk, Starlink. So we're starting to see a pattern here with Muskrat getting his hands in like every aspect of our society and like getting into everything that we do. Okay, which reminds me, and I didn't put this on a list, right? So he's got his X card that he's going to be starting up, like his X bank that he's going to be doing. He's like firing all these people at NOAA. He's like, oh, and then the rumor, and I don't know if this is 100% true, is that he's going to bring in some people from Starlink for FAA. Here's what. If he does that, I ain't flying. I don't know how I'm going to get from A to B, but I am not going to get in a plane and pray that the people that are going to like be overseeing the airspace know what they're doing, because I know you have to get trained for that. But okay, whatever. Let's see. I'm only halfway through this list. Measles outbreak now in 8 states. 8 states. So, and children have died. So I am concerned about that. I at one point was working at a hospital, and it was I'll just say it was Children's Hospital. I was doing an internship there, and so they were like, you can't do an internship here unless you get all your shots. No. I was like, okay, that's cool. So I went and got all my shots, and then they were like, oh, you got to get your mumps. And I was like, no, I already got mumps. And I was trying to like fight them a little bit. And then I was like, you know what, whatever, I'll just get the shots. It's free because when you work there, they just give it to you. So I went ahead and I got like all of my shots from when I was a kid. They were like, yeah, like they fade after time. And so I'm glad that I got the new shots like within the last 10 years. I've gotten my shots updated. So I won't die if there's a measles outbreak and something happens and it gets out here. I'll be okay. But I mean, how many adults, how many of you have actually gotten your shots from your childhood updated? At the very least, mumps, rubella, and the mumps, rubella, I forget, MMR, I forget. Get those updated. I highly suggest that because they're coming for you. Measles is coming for you. Yes. All right. Um, the Trump says the tariffs are happening because remember he was going to start them his first day of office, and then he kind of backed off, and then he had this like back and forth with the Mexican president, and then the Mexican president like, look, when you want to do it, because clearly wasn't popular. Trump's like, he's pushing, but then he's backing off of it. When do you want to do it? He was like the end of February. She was like, okay, do it. Okay, now that's game face. That's like total gangsta. Okay, love. Okay, so now China, Canada, and Mexico, yeah, they're about to get tariffs, and apparently Trump is threatening now to put tariffs on Europe. So let's keep this in mind that when there is a tariff, it is not the countries pay for the pleasure of importing things to us. We pay. We pay. Let me just put this in perspective in case you're still confused. If y'all saw in the news, and I think it was this week as well, the Waffle House said they were going to institute a 50 cent per egg surcharge. So if you go to the Waffle House and you get 2 eggs, they're going to put $1 on your eggs. An extra $1 that you're going to have to pay. Because here's what. They have to buy the eggs at a higher price because of whatever reason. Okay, but eggs cost more now. So they are going to buy the eggs at the higher price, but they're not going to absorb that cost of the higher price. They're going to pass it on to you, to me, to the people who frequent, who are their customers. We are paying that. Because at the end of the day, those greedy little mofos need a profit. And they are not cool with taking money off of their profit in order to continue giving us eggs with our breakfast. So they're going to take the money from us. That's how tariffs work. So if a country sends something to us that we like from wherever, right? Then the country's going, that company in that other country is going to say, okay, it's going to cost you in the United States, it's going to cost us more to have to ship it to you because of the tariff. So they're going to charge more. The company in the United States is still going to buy it because they know that Americans, we can't help ourselves. We buy everything. When it gets here, they're going to say to this company here in the United States, they're going to say, we're not going to absorb that cost. So what are they going to do? They're going to increase the price. They're going to increase the price so that we make up the difference so that they can still make their profit and we end up paying more. That's how tariffs work. Okay, hold on. I'm not feeling the heat here. It's back to being cold, which is why I was wearing this. And on Friday, I actually had a nicer sweater on. I had a sweater with a turtleneck because it was nicer outside on Friday. Now it's gotten back to being cold again, so I'm back to my space heater. Okay. Of course, last week more businesses announced they were dismantling their DEI. I've already given you the information on what you can do about that. I said, hey, go get the app. It's called Goods Unite Us. It's under the last video I did. So go back to the previous video to this one and pull it up and go to that, grab the app, because not only do they tell you, what they tell you is They have a lot of companies. You scroll and scroll and scroll and scroll and scroll. They will tell you if it's Republican, if they take their money and put it towards Republican causes, towards Democratic causes, and then they will say these are the causes that they support. They'll say, yeah, they support like anti-abortion. They support this, that. They like put everything down there that they support, so you get a real good idea of what these companies support. I like Goods Unite Us, or GUU. So you can get it on the Google Play Store, or you can get it on the Apple, whatever the Apple Store is called. I guess it's called the Apple Store. Okay. Now, also this week, Trump said, "Oh yeah, we're gonna go to Fort Knox and see we want to see if the gold is still there." Okay, there's this saying that says it's locked up tighter than Fort Knox. It's because it's pretty tight military. It's pretty tight security at Fort Knox. Here's what I'm gonna say: if they're gonna let Orange Savior and his sidekick megalomaniac in there, they need to have like hands, eyes on them 24/7, because I just don't believe that they're not going to start lining their pockets literally with gold and walk out with the gold. Friday we also had the economic boycott. It was all day, and as I said, and there's going to be more. I know there are more that are coming up. I kind of saw it online. But please don't then load up the day before and say, okay, well, I won't buy the next day. And don't say, okay, well, I'll buy nothing on that economic boycott day, and then I'll buy a whole lot of things the next day. Like, literally, people, you can make it for 24 hours and just say, I'm just not going to shop today. Just not going to shop. This is not something like, think about a lot of countries that have a lot less than us, and they're okay. There are people who have nothing and they don't have food like for a day, and they're okay. So if, like Montgomery boycott, the bus boycott that they did like back in Martin Luther King days, like that was a whole year. That's a whole year of these people saying we are not going to take the bus. That was a year of them having to find friends and family and walk everywhere, because they were just like, we're not going to get on these buses till they desegregate. Okay, so a year. You can do one day if they did a year. Like everyone, okay? Oh, God. People in states that were hit by the flooding from a couple weeks ago when we had the snowstorm, they're still not getting any help. Okay? And then people are like, well, that was when the Biden. No. I corrected quite a few people. No. There was the storms that hit when Biden was in office around November, where he sent the FEMA people out, and then all of these like maggots were saying, oh, they're just giving $750, or they're not giving anything, or don't sign anything because they're definitely going to be like taking your land. All untrue. And why do I know that? Because again, I live out here, and they were begging us while this is happening. The FEMA people were coming to job fairs and begging people, please come work for FEMA, because we have like storms going on right now and people are needing help, and we need to hire people to go out there and do assessments and like get these people like started on getting their resources so that they can rebuild. Now, after January 20th, I've been to one job fair where FEMA always comes, and they were supposed to come, and they did not show up. And then we found out subsequently within that week or so that Muskrat was firing all these FEMA people. So, if you are in that situation or know people or see things happening where they're like, oh, look, nobody's come out and helped, then this is not a Biden thing, because they were hiring and they were sending people out. Under Muskrat and Orange Savior, they are firing and they are not sending anyone out. What they are doing is going to golf courses and going to Formula 500 like car races and riding around the tracks and in the presidential limousine, and that's what they're doing while people are dying and drowning and losing their homes. Okay? So keep that in mind. Um what else is going on? Oh, yes, 7,000 Social Security workers were fired. And I'm going to come back and talk with you about that because you need to do something now. If you are getting Social Security, or if you're planning on getting it at some point, you need to do some things, and I'm going to talk you through that because you need to protect your money. And there's not a P.S. It's not an entitlement program. Everybody keeps saying it's an entitlement. You know what entitlement means? It means like, you're entitled to something. Like you say, okay, I've got this. I get the right to have this when you didn't earn it. There's nothing that FICA, FICA, they're coming for us first. And they always come for the regular people first and take our money first. Every single paycheck that you get, look, and when you see FICA, that's where all that stuff is going. It goes to the what they call entitlement programs, which I think is condescending to the regular people who are paying this stuff. Okay? And so now they're saying, okay, step one is we're going to just fire all these people for Social Security, which means it's going to be really hard for you to be able to get in touch with Social Security. And it was crazy, 7 levels of crazy for me to get to, before even all this happened, to get to Social Security and get everything I needed. So you need to, we'll talk about that. Let's see. The Tate brothers that were stuck in Romania because they were they were trafficking women, and they were basically doing what Epstein was doing, but worse. And they were being held in Romania, allegedly. There was pressure from the U.S. to release these two guys who are, I think they're half. They have American passports, and then they also are citizens of another country. I can't remember. I want to say Canada or Romania or something like that. And no, maybe UK. I can't remember, but definitely American and something else. And so they were brought back here on a private jet. Okay, allegedly, Orange Savior says that, I didn't know anything about that. No, you're the freaking leader of the free, allegedly, because I don't call this the free world anymore. You're the United States president. You knew about that. And if you didn't, then you need to be checked mentally, because you're supposed to be running this country. And if you don't even know about the little things like that, that's going under the radar, then you are not doing your job and something is wrong with you on many fronts. Let's see. Yes, the Epstein files were released after Attorney General Pam Bondi's I saw the files. They were in my office. I released them. Then they had all these sycophant, feckless, ignorant, MAGA, influencers. I'm using these words in air quotes. Influencers come to the White House, and they were given these files, and they left out. They were all tweeting and getting on YouTube and saying, we got the Epstein files, and they open them up and everything's redacted, and they were there's nothing in here that hasn't already been released before. Now here's why this is stupid on several fronts. First, the amount of files that this man had, because apparently he had rigged up everything that he owned with cameras and video cameras and cameras and everything. I'm going to guarantee you that that's terabytes of information. So there's no way that Attorney General dumbass Pam Bondi, sorry about the curse, but that just slipped out, could have seen terabytes of information in a file on her desk. It's not possible. That's a lot of information. That's a lot of files. It would take a long time to go through every single one of those. And I know that because I've got terabytes of information just sitting around here. I've got about 10 terabytes. It would take me forever to go through everything. Forever. I've got 10, I don't know, maybe 15, 20 terabytes of data just sitting here. Just sitting here. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 computer screens. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 computer screens. 2 phone devices, and 2 iPads that I work with every day. So it's, I have a lot. There's no way. So that was a lie. And so them releasing whatever they had, lie. And so all these people got angry. The maggots were angry, which I'm surprised at because they love everything that Orange Savior does. Let's see. Oh, Trump took back all those boxes that when they raided, I think it was the FBI raided the Mar-a-Lago because they had a tip that he had taken files when he left the White House because, Orange Savior should not be taking files. Like, nobody should be taking files when they leave the White House. They're taken, and then, they go through everything in the National Archives, which, by the way, they did fire the woman that ran the National Archives, so God knows what's going on with the files that are at the National Archives right now. But they took the files, loaded it back on Trump's plane, and they brought it back to Mar-a-Lago. And they're proud of that. Okay, so that's the first thing. Okay, what else did they do? Yeah, is that everything? Oh yes, so let's see. Then yeah, there was something that I skipped over. Oh yes, okay. So then the last thing that happened that week that I know of was that Orange Savior decided to, and it was very odd because he did it without Muskrat. But Orange Savior decided to have a press conference and show himself and his Marco Rubio and Zelensky at the White House sitting there, and they just kind of just had it was bad cop, dumber cop, stupider cop, ridiculous cop, even more stupid cop. These are all the people around him just going off on Zelensky and saying that he's the aggressor, and allegedly, I mean, I can't remember exactly, but it was something like that, saying he was the aggressor and he needed to say thank you, and why isn't he wearing a suit? Marjorie Taylor, whoever that joke is of a woman that, the butch body better, Bond, the woman from Congress, who looks like a man woman who's really not that attractive. I'm not saying I am either, but her boyfriend was there. Why aren't you wearing a suit? You're in the White House, and you know what? This man just came from a war, and the fact that he's got clothes at all is that's enough for me, okay? Because you can't just walk out of a war, and he's wearing all black, probably because he's had to come in the dead of the night, because they would have shot his plane down and killed him. So, you can't just be all dressed up in the war. You're in the war, idiot. Now, if any of those men that were surrounding him had ever served in a war, they would know, they would probably not have said, why aren't you ever wearing a suit? I've never seen him wear a suit because I've only seen him in war. People in war aren't wearing suits unless they're wearing army suits or fatigues and stuff like that. It was stupid. It was stupid for him to say that. It was just stupid. But yes, well, let me get back to that first point that I said I was going to keep until the end of the last. So what disturbed me more than anything, that got me very scared, was that Trump was talking about starting World War III. Look, I've never, this is what I wanted to point out to you, and this is where I'm going to end it. That was the news cycle up until about 3 o'clock. From Monday up until Friday at about 3 o'clock. This was the news cycle that I could remember off the top of my head. And if I went into the news, there'd probably be more. What gets me so frightened for us, not, and I would say United States, but I mean us, is that he said World War III. I have never, ever, ever heard of any world leader say those three words, World War III. Never. Could it have happened? Could someone have said something like that? Yeah, because I don't watch the news. I'm not I'm not like watching news 24/7. Like, God bless my father, love him. But man, he was obsessed with news in the last like 4 or 5 years of his life. He didn't want to watch anything but the news. He just wanted to know what was going on in the world. And it would like freak him out to no end. And I don't watch the news because I don't know if you remember me telling you, I don't have a TV. So I have the internet, and so I have YouTube. And so I have limited myself to who I'm going to watch. And I watch that news. And I will get like news, like news stories or whatever that come across my computer screen. And I'll like kind of like I'll just kind of look at that or whatever. But I don't have a TV. And so that helps me because I refuse to watch legacy news. I don't watch I don't watch ABC, CBS, NBC, Fox, none of them. Not one. Because they're all liars. Here's what I think is happening with this election cycle or not this election cycle, with this news cycle. Legacy media loves this stuff. When I remember the first 100 days of Biden being in office, there was nothing. Biden didn't do any kind of news stories. He didn't take interviews or grant interviews rather. He didn't get in front of the podium every day and like do all kinds of stuff. He was like, I'm busy running the country. Bye, Felicia. And we didn't see anything. And I remember thinking to myself, this is the first 100 days of like mental stability that I've had in 4 years. And it was like a good feeling. Now, for all of this stuff that's going on here, all of this stuff culminating into a discussion from Orange Savior about World War III, all of that minus what happened on Friday, it's a diversionary tactic. Diversionary tactic. What does that mean? It means that Orange Savior needed something to push off all of that bad news. Oh, because there was also something else that happened too, because Orange Savior lost in court. There was a court case where he was I can't remember exactly what it was. I think it had to do with he had to release the money to pay the contractors that were not able to get paid from USAID and they had already done the work. And that includes like farmers who already sent the food and they're sitting in the warehouses rotting. Billions of dollars in food rotting that people here in this country can't eat because, I mean, quite frankly, come on now. Who's going to eat that kind of food in this country? Nobody. That kind of food, which is like, here's slop and here's that kind of food. It's literally just nutrition to keep people alive. That's the stuff that they're sending to these other countries. Like, here's a protein. Here's a carbohydrate. Like, here's a fat. Now live. Okay? And they eat it because it's like, hey, It's something to put in our bellies because we don't have anything for our bellies. Okay? So that is just sitting there, like just literally just sitting there. They have to get paid. So that was also part of the news cycle. And so he needed to make that bad news cycle go away because his ratings are starting to go down. Not a lot, but they're starting to go down a little bit. A little bit. So what's he going to do? He's going to say, okay, everybody, game plan. Here comes Zelensky. Okay, you are going to, Just Dog. I don't call him JD. I have a nickname for everyone. Just Dog. You're going to come out and you're going to say, why don't you apologize? Or you need to, not apologize. You need to say thank you. You need to say thank you. Why don't you ever say thank you? Which every time Zelensky is here, all I hear is thank you, 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 America, thank you, America. I thank you on the bottom, on behalf of Ukrainians. We thank you for the none of it. We thank you, we thank you, we thank you. Okay, so he's already there doing that. Also, the last time Orange Savior was impeached was because he's trying to force Ukrainians to like do something so that he would be able to step in allegedly and help the Ukrainians. Like, you scratch my back and I'll like save people's lives in your land by going to talk to this man who really is pulling the puppet strings for me because I don't have a voice, because he intimidates me. Okay, I'm gonna just step back. So this time he's doing the same thing. Like, we want minerals. We want precious minerals from your land. And in exchange for that, you know, we'll talk to Putin for you. We'll talk to Pootie. Me and Pootie, we got a special Pootie Tang. We got a special relationship. Remember that movie, Pootie Tang? Okay, so me and Pootie Tang got a thing going on here. And like, I'll talk to Pootie Tang, but you got to sign these mineral rights deals so we can get access to your minerals. Now, even if Zelensky signs that, I mean, this is the news report. It's going to take years before we even get to access those minerals. It's not like they're like, okay, let's just get those minerals over. Like, you have to go and drill for them and things like that. That takes years. So what's the point of doing it now? Like, it's just kind of nuts. It is a diversionary tactic to push away all the negativity of the news cycle. So he says all these crazy things at that news conference with Zelensky and has all his people like trap him, because definitely he was Zelensky, the president of Ukraine, was he was tricked into coming, and then he was used as a diversionary tactic to push away all the news cycle, and it worked because everybody's talking about it over and over and over again. And I'm like, no. Get back to it. We got a whole news cycle that I just talked through. That took me like 45 minutes. Now everybody's focusing on that thing. But here's the result of that. It backfired in Orange Savior's face, because now when Zelensky goes back to Europe, now the Europeans are like, read between the lines, United States. We no longer are your allies. We're his allies. So now we're kind of, it's like the Titanic. The boat's going down. There's a boat over there in the horizon, even with the lights on. They know. They can see the Titanic going down. And you know what they're like saying? It's like, that's what they get for being on that boat. We don't care. Like, I mean, allegedly, I don't know if this is true, but Norway's like, we're not going to fuel Navy boats anymore when they come through. We're just not going to fuel them. So, you know, if you're on a warship or a Navy warship and you're pushing back from like Australia, and you make your stop, or from Africa, and you make your stop in Australia, and then they're coming back through, and they make a stop in Norway, well, there's no place to stop. And if all the other European countries say they're not going to let our naval ships refuel, where are they going to go for fuel? So what's going to happen is now we can't send Navy people out. We can't send our naval forces out anymore. They're going to be dead in the water. And if they're dead in the water, they could be targets. And then you know who's going to come for them? Like the dudes from like those pirates. I'm the captain now. They're going to come and take over those boats. And how do I know that they can do this? Because I've got family that works for the Navy. Now I got to go and talk to my family and make sure they're going to be okay. Because they're going to go anyway. And I'm always like, look, don't you be a hero, you be a zero. And unfortunately, my family's like, you crazy. And I'm like, no, I'm not. Because you think they're going to care about you? If something happens and the boat starts going down, no. You focus on you. And this is what we have to do as our people. We need to focus on ourselves, and we need to like focus on our boats and the people that's in our boat. Because we didn't cause this. We're the 92% that voted the right way because we cared about this country, we cared about ourselves, we cared about the people around us, even though they didn't care about us. We cared about all these crazy white people, even though they didn't care about us. And we said, we're voting for what's best for our country. And the majority of those white people and like the Palestinians, the ones that voted for Orange Savior, and the one guy who owned the restaurant that invited Orange Savior to come and have a meal, and now he's being harassed and dragged by other Palestinians. Like, you brought him into your shop, and now he's got this commercial, and he's now getting together with Netanyahu, and they're going to close down Gaza and kick out all of the Palestinians, and they got no place to go. And then they're just going to turn it into beachfront property, and there goes, Trump Gaza. There you go, right there. Okay. There's a lot going on. Now, I know this whole channel is all about, like, what do we do? Like, because as I said, and this is long, but I'm pointing this out because there are things that we have to do to protect ourselves. And all of this stuff is making us unsafe. It's making us unsafe. So you have to do whatever you can to make yourself safe. I'm going to tell you to get your papers in order. I had to write this down too. Get your papers in order and make sure that you have all your papers in order, because they are going to now demand that you have to prove that you are an American citizen in order to get the right to vote. So they're going back to take a page out of Jim Crow laws, which they can do because they already kind of abolished like civil rights and like voting rights and gutted that all out. So there's nothing left of it. So here's what you need to do. You need to go get your birth certificate. Now, I've mentioned this in past videos, but I'm emphasizing this now because things are about to go sideways here. And they're already going sideways. People are already walking like this and they don't even realize it. Okay, go from here to here. Get your papers in order. Get your birth certificate. You cannot operate off of a copy of a birth certificate. What I suggest you do is get 2 copies of your original birth certificate. You're going to have to go to the I forget what it's called. You get a certificate of live birth from the office of I forget what it's called. Oh gosh darn. Now I'm gonna look it up because I don't want to mess people up and then they don't know where to go. My internet's going a little slow, but here we go. No, that's not the right thing to hit. Here we go. I'm gonna put this down because I should have gotten this. I apologize. I should have had this ready to go. Google get birth certificates online. You want to go to wherever you want to. It's like the Department of Vital Records. Every state has an office of live or vital records. And a lot of the times you can get it online. You can order by phone. Like, I don't suggest that. I think you should just do it online. Do it online. It's fastest. But you should get a birth certificate. Get a copy of your birth certificate. Get 2 copies. I know there's a fee associated with it. It's like $5 or something like that. Um, if you don't have the money, and I get it because I'm unemployed right now, figure it out. Talk to some people. Save the money up. If there's something that you've been looking to buy that's been a want, not a need, you need to get your certificate of live birth. So get it, and get it quickly. And if you can get 2, that's great. Put one, like away, where, like in a fireproof safe or a bank deposit box if you can't get it there, and then use the other one for whatever. Once you get your certificate of live birth, then you're going to get your real ID. You need to take the whatever you have for your state license or your driver's license, along with your birth certificate, and take it to the driver's license place, the DMV, not our DMV, like, but the physical driver's license place, or Department of Motor Vehicles. That's what it is. Take it to the Department of Motor Vehicles and get your real ID. Why? Because there's a deadline. Because we have a new driver's license now. It looks different. It's supposed to be like harder to copy, even though I don't believe it. But they want you to have that real ID, and there's a deadline of like May. And if you wait until the last second, then there's going to be like a rush, and you're going to be late getting it. It's going to be much harder. So just get it now. Get it now. Once you get it, then you want to get your passport. Why? Because you might have to make a hasty exit. And if you're like me and you're planning on leaving the country, you want to get your passport, because here's what they're doing. They're getting ready to, as we already know, they're already starting to downsize the federal government and fire a bunch of people. And you would think Department of State, Homeland Security, Department of Defense, you would think they'd be safe. They're not safe. They're not safe. So they said they are going to be cutting the Department of State. So you need to get your passport. Why? Again, because you may need to make a hasty exit and head for the borders. Canada, Mexico, anywhere south, any place. You just need to get the HE double bamboo shoots out of here. So have it ready to go. After you get that, then the next thing you need to do is make sure you present that, or have that presented. If you're not registered to vote, you need to register to vote using your real ID. Why? Because if they're trying to tell you that you have to prove you're a United States citizen, what they're saying is, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, that you need to prove you're a U.S. citizen by showing your certificate of live birth, establishing that you are born in the United States. Which means that if you're naturalized, they may be trying to push people out who are naturalized, or push people out who were there by marriage. I married an American citizen, United States citizen rather. Now, I've got my United States citizenship through that. They may call that into question. As well as, here's the other thing, which is that they have been saying, if your voting registration does not match the last name on your birth certificate, you're not going to be allowed to vote. So basically, if you're a woman and you married someone and you took that person's last name and it doesn't match what's on your birth certificate, they can say, we're not going to let you vote, because that name on the birth certificate isn't the same as the name that's on your driver's license, so we can't let you vote because you can't prove. So, as much as I hate to say, keep your name for the purpose of your real ID, I would have to say, if you're female, and you've taken your husband's last name, you may just to be on the safe side is put whatever is your last name on your birth certificate, put it on your real ID. Don't hyphenate it, but put it as your real ID. Unfortunately, this is what it's going to come down to. Now, you can always check and see if you can get a real ID with like your maiden name, and maybe get your birth or get your passport with your married name or something like that. I don't know. Don't hold me to it. I don't know what's going on, and it's just been weird. But you need to like think about these things, because it's just going back to Jim Crow. Prove you can vote. Okay, weird. The other thing that you need to do is go to the Social Security website. Now, there's like a couple of layers of crazy, because you have to get an authenticator on your app, on your phone. You have to get an authenticator for your phone. So if you are somebody that's maybe a little older and doesn't know what an authenticator is, find someone who's a little younger that you can trust that can help you to download an authenticator app on your phone. That you're going to have to like go in and enter your information and create an account through the Social Security Administration, which can only be done during business hours, during office hours when they're open, Monday through Friday during their opening times. Like I think from like 8 a.m. until 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. So the website does not work. If you try to go there on the weekend or on a holiday, whatever, they're just not going to have it up and running. But you need to go in there. You need to check the earnings statement, your benefit statement, and see what it is that they have for whatever your lifetime is. Because I can't remember. I think it's like you have to work like 40 pay periods or something like that, or I forget what it is. But you have to work a certain amount of pay periods in order to be eligible for Social Security when you get to be of age and you get to start to collect Social Security. So, which is like 67 and a half at this point for some people. If you're older, like I think if it's before 1964 or something like that, it's 65. But if you're born after 1964, then it's like 67 and a half. And then I think after a certain point, it's 70. That they're saying that you have to work till 70 before you can retire, right? Okay? So, kind of nuts. But in any case, there are mistakes being made. And with this whole like thing with them dismantling and like pulling apart our the technology and the computer systems that are running on very old computer languages anyway, there could be issues. I'm not saying there will be, and it could be nothing's wrong, but there could be issues with your Social Security statements. So you want to download them, and I would check. I would probably like pick a day, maybe like every 6 months, where you go back in and you check. Put it on your phone. Put it in your in your calendar. Go back in there and just like really just like check and make sure everything is updated. And if it's incorrect, you can correct it then. And I would do it sooner than later, because once those 7,000 people are all fired, it's going to be really hard to find a human person that can correct the mistake. So you want to go in there, you're going to create the account. They're going to make you authenticate and verify who you are, and they're going to send you like a text message or an email or whatever, and verify, and you're going to go back and forth until you are in the system. And then once you're in the system, you want to go in, you want to look at your benefit statement, and you want to make sure that it's correct. If it's incorrect, then you need to correct it. And then you need to download it and then keep it in a safe place. And then I would check in at minimum once a year and just make sure that everything's been updated correctly. So you're going to need to do that. You need to go to studentaid.gov if you have student loans. And go to your portal and download everything. Now, the portals have changed since they came in and just decimated the student aid website and everything. And people have been reporting that they're not able to find things. and that they used to have, that their student loans were paid in full, they weren't, or they're now saying that they're not, and that like people are saying that their payments have changed, and people are saying like payments are missing, and it's just a mess. So I suggest you go to studentaid.gov, go to the portal, download everything, any kind of correspondences that you had with from studentaid.gov where they sent you emails. I would create a separate folder and dump everything into that folder and have it ready, because at any point in time when they start figuring out that things are problematic, or they start changing what you could, or what your payments are going to be or whatever, it's gonna go nuts. And then I would also check your credit report, because there have been people who've been reporting that their student loans are showing up on their credit reports, and their credit reports are just dropping like a stone, like 100 points, dropping 3 digits, dropping 2 digits. There's big drops. Now, I got notification a couple times that studentaid.gov, like, there's a change on my credit report from studentaid.gov, and I'm like, okay, so I log in, and then there's no change. And so, like, no notification. So I don't know what's going on, but then that just makes me suspicious that something is happening. But I would go in there and do that. Also, because they have taken down some of the links that they had for you to be able to apply for like an income-driven repayment plan. So some of the links are gone, some of them are still there, but I do believe that you can call, and if you call, you get the right person on the phone, perhaps that person might be able to help you like manually sign up. Because I just remember when I was like, going through student loan stuff, and then I would call my student loan people, and I'd cry because I was like, I can't afford to make the payments. And they'd be like, okay, well, can we put you in this plan, or can we put you in this plan? And I'd be like, okay. And they would put me in a different plan, and they'd be like, okay, we've done it. So I'm going to just suggest that you try to do that. Try to do that. And just find somebody who's not a hole, and hole, that's willing to help you. Now, they may or may not be able to help, but I'm going to suggest that you try to have them help you. Again, I just recommend that you get your ish in order. Check. I would make sure that your children have get their social security numbers, get their birth certificates, and then lock them up someplace, because we know that, when children are born, they need a social security number. Lock it up, because you just don't, because of course, once kids are born, they're not going to go and like get a credit card and go like, yeah, mommy, mama, papa, like credit card. They're not going to do that. They're not going to touch credit until they're like 18. And you don't need the temptation if like, I hate to say, but my mother, if she had had our social security numbers, I know she would have went in and like did stuff, paid for stuff, like she'd asked for me and my sister for money and whatever. I understand they were going through bankruptcy and lost everything, and it was terrible. And one of my other sisters was telling me after I had left for college, it was good that we left for college because it was like less mouths to feed, but there were times when my parents couldn't eat because they just had enough money for beans and rice for and like hot dogs, not even a bun, but a hot dog for my remaining siblings. And my parents said they didn't eat because they were like, no, they just didn't have enough food and enough money for all the kids and themselves. So I don't blame her, and I felt bad when my parents were telling me about that, because there was a time when I was in college where my student loan stuff, and then my mom had asked me for money, and I was like, well, when are you going to pay me back? And she got really angry with me about that. If I had known all that was going on, it just wouldn't even been something she could ask. I would have just, like, as soon as I got my money, I would have just sent her everything. and just call it a day and just been happy that my siblings and my mom, my dad could eat. So I understand, like, you get into a tough place, but don't do that to your kids. Let them, teach them about money, teach them about responsibility, teach them about their credit, teach them how to be financially smart, to save money, to put money aside, even if it's just like $20 a month for the rest of their lives. And by the time they get ready to retirement, they got like, $300,000-$400,000. But be smart about it. But get them ready. Get your parents ready. If your parents are older and they haven't checked their Social Security, haven't checked their Medicare, haven't checked their Medicaid, you need to go through and get them through that. I did that for my mom. I went over to Social Security website. Like, I couldn't get her an account because she doesn't have an driver's license or an ID anymore. So we called over Social Security. We called Medicare. We called every place. Thankfully, we called OPM because she's got survivor benefit from my father, and we were able to verify her survivor benefits. We were able to verify her Medicare, her secondary insurance, federal. She has secondary federal insurance. We were able to verify everything, so she could be okay. But you need to do that and help your parents out if they haven't done it. And I would probably, like, once you do it the first time, I would get on the phone with the parents and check back every year, once a year, and just make sure. Because Medicare, Medicaid, which, by the way, that was one thing I didn't mention, which is also in the news cycle, is that they're going to be cutting, or the Republicans had passed that bill, and that bill stated that, oh yeah, we need to fine $800 billion, and we're just going to they're just going to cut Medicare, Medicaid, and they're going to cut everything so that the wealthy 1% can get their tax cuts over 10 years. So that is going to mess things up for the rest of us that have to get FICA taken, because they don't get FICA taken out of their taxes after a certain. They're not paying taxes anymore. So when you get to be that wealthy, you don't pay taxes. You just don't. And so we're paying the taxes, and then they are avoiding the taxes, and that's why we have a deficit right now. It's because there's a segment of society that's holding the majority of the money and not paying the taxes. Then the other 99% of us are getting so little of that money, and then having to pay FICA every single pay period. That's what's going on, and you need to be aware of that. And then you need to make sure that you've got everything. Create the portals for everything. Download everything. And here's what I always say. Look, I live in a one-party consent state when it comes to recording messages. So I can record someone else, and I can give myself consent to record. Yes, I'll record. And it doesn't matter anyway, because every time you call those offices, they always say, this call may be recorded. Okay. Well, if this call can be recorded on your end, it can certainly be recorded on my end. I'm recording this. I record everything. I love my old phone because I set it up years ago for this app that automatically, as soon as I make a call, it automatically just recorded calls. Then when I got my new phone, they're like, oh, we don't do that anymore. I was like, ugh. Anyway, so again, let's go back. Check your credit reports, as I said. You want to see if there's anything on your student loans there and it shouldn't be, then you need to contact them and make sure they take it off your credit report. Now, if your student loans are delinquent, then that's different. It needs to be on your credit report. You need to get yourself out. But there's this loan rehabilitation, and here's something you want to consider. If your loans are already in default, immediately contact the Department of Education and tell them you want to go into I think they call it Fresh Start, but there's a loan rehabilitation where they're going to say, okay, for 1 year, you need to make your payments every month on time. and you're going to have agreed upon amount that you have to pay every single month on time. You cannot be late. Never. And in that 1 year, if you make your payments, then they will take your loans out of bankruptcy and remove, I believe they remove it off your credit report. Check with that though, but you can do that. So do not let your student loans, if they're in default, do not keep them there, because you need to be able to pull them out and get your credit score up, so that if you got to make a hasty exit, and maybe you need to get a credit card before you make a hasty exit, you can do that. Now there's a, oh, let me go. So as I have said before, I am not a healthy person because I have not been able to get to the gym. I just pretty much walk my dogs, and I am not employed. But I had, and this is where it comes in, where this USAID kind of messed me up, because I was kind of going through it in my mind, like, how much money am I losing right now, possibly because of the fact of this whole mess is going on. So I had verbally agreed to do 3 trainings for USAID. That was like $12,000. I forget, something like that, and gone. So I've lost that for this year. I know I spoke with, I talked about this contract that this company contacted me about. I have a relationship with a company that's looking for technical trainers, and they said we're looking for somebody to train in a European country, and they're like, but they need to be an American-based instructor. And I was just like, great, can you send me the information? And they were like, sure. And that was like on Thursday, and then Friday, I still haven't got the information, and I was like, can you send me the information? I know they're kind of slow. They're like, sure. Then this whole thing hit with Trump and Zelensky and all this stuff, and I was just like, can I get the information? And it was like crickets. And I haven't heard anything from them. So I don't know if it's related, but that was a $39,000 contract. And if I'm not able to get that contract, then I have now lost 39, 49, 54. That's $52,000 this year. And then there was a Canadian contract that I have, like, again, another verbal contract with, and that was for about $10,000. So, so about 60, I've lost about 61,000. Now, again, these are all kind of like verbals and whatnot, but the fact of the matter is that I am unemployed and I work through contracts, and this whole thing is a mess. And so, I have to like plan B this and try to figure out how I'm going to live and live off of like what little I have until I can figure out something else. I will not ever, for the foreseeable future at least, do anything federally located, or federally based or whatever, because I don't trust that. Because if Orange Savior can't even pay his contractors, and he's always laughing about how much he's like willing, or like how many times that he's stiffed a contractor, then that means as a contractor, it's not safe for me to take a federal contract of any kind. Not even consider it. And I need to not focus on getting contracts. And I don't know. I mean, I'm just not sure what's happening with this European cohort. I have contacted this person 3 or 4 times, and after a certain point, it's like, kind of doesn't make sense to keep contacting this person again and again and again. If he gets in touch, then he gets in touch. If he doesn't get in touch, well then, okay. But this is how things are working right now. It's just so easy to like be here and then he'd end up here. So you have to take care of yourself as much as you can. So I have to figure out how to get myself to a gym. And I keep saying, and it's true, as soon as I'm able to get a job, I will, because I want to get myself into shape, because I don't want to have any kind of issues. I just want to be able to get myself healthy, and I'm going to recommend that everyone gets healthy. Get healthy. Things are about to get tough here. I mean, they're already tough. Times are tough. Things cost more. Um, like you want to think about even things like I'm going to get canned foods because canned food is just as fresh as it's even fresher, than like frozen food. Because frozen food, they keep it out, and at some point they bring it in and they freeze it. But canned food, I think the canneries are like right there, so they like pick the food or whatever, and put it right in the can right away and seal it. So it's fresh and it lasts longer. Um, so try to get as much as you can. Try to get your canned foods. As I mentioned, I have been like freezing foods, and whenever something is on sale, and I don't mean on sale like as in, oh yeah, that's the price it used to be, but I really really take advantage of the points and the things and the coupons and all that stuff, so that I can save as much money as I can, and then I buy like things as they come on sale, and then I freeze as much as I can. And so I'm going to show you something, and I'm just going to show it to you. Okay, so this is about 32 ounces, probably about 30 ounces of eggs. So, as I mentioned to you all, one of my first broadcasts that I did with you is that I said, hey, I've got like 10 of these. And these are 32 ounces each of eggs. And so when I say I freeze stuff, that's what I freeze. So what do? You lightly beat your egg, put a little bit of a little bit of salt in, just a little bit, just sprinkle, close, beat it a little bit, and then put it in an airtight container in the freezer. And like I've heard reports of this stuff lasting up to 2 years. No, I don't plan on these going for 2 years. I don't think that we're going to have egg issues for 2 years. But I do believe that the price of eggs are never going to go down to what they used to be, because we already know after the pandemic, prices came back down, but it never went as low as it was before the pandemic. Because these greedy corporations, when they see that we can pay more, even though they know how much it's hurting us to have to pay more, they keep the prices high anyway. Or they do the shrink packaging little thing where they're like, yeah, this is, they used to be 16 ounces, but now it's 12 ounces, and they sell it as though it is 16 ounces for the 16 ounce price. They do stuff like that. So do as much as you can to do stuff like this, which this is still, it's still in the process of like, of warming up, I guess, or whatever. Defrosting, that's what it is, defrosting. And I put the dates on them and everything so that I know when things are due. And doing the same thing for I love coffee and drinking it, besides my name. But I have a lot of cream, and cream you can freeze that as well. So I have like a bunch of, not 32 ounces, but 16 ounce ones for the cream, and I'm going to put those in the freezer as well. I have a lot of things that I've frozen: chicken, turkey, ground turkey, cheese, milk, eggs. I have frozen vegetables. I have frozen fruits. And, I'm just shopping for the ancillary stuff. Or when things go on sale, then I'm like, okay, I can freeze it and then use it later. But you want to start doing things like that. Because times are getting tough. Times are getting tough, and things are gonna go tough. So things are gonna get tough. I also am thinking very strongly about going through and getting like lessons on shooting, going to the gun range, getting lessons to shoot, and getting a gun license, possibly getting a gun. Now, I live in a very safe neighborhood. It makes no sense to have to do that. But if you're in a neighborhood where you're not as safe, or like I have a relative that lives out in like rural areas where it's clearly orange savior country, and they have like all these like Confederate flags and things that they suddenly like to wave now because they're being emboldened by a president that's normalizing racism. So yeah, they have guns. They have guns in the ceiling. They have guns in the floor. They have guns like holstered to their beds. They have gas masks. They're like it's serious. They got dogs that they have like indoor and outdoor dogs. They got lights, cameras, everything. These people are like, we're not going to take any chances here. So you don't want to take any chances either. Um, I hear that Orange Savior is going to start up with or get rid of stop and frisk, or bring back stop and frisk. So we need to be vigilant and make sure that we have our cameras. And I think in some states you're not allowed to record them talking, but you're allowed to record. So, if there's a way for you to like mute the recording and at least have that going, if you're in a state like that. But if you're in a state like mine where it's one party consent, you could put that camera on and keep it recording. And if they pull you over, yeah. I also have a camera in my car, and I have a rear camera, but I don't have that one turned on, but I need to. But I keep my cameras on at all times. Even if I'm just going up the street and just like, oh, I'm just going to go up the store up the street. No, I'm going to put my camera on because I don't know what's going to happen. Stop and frisk is coming back. They can stop you for any reason. They can frisk you for any reason. And they can stop us because we're obvious, right? We're the easy targets. So you want to take care of yourself, take care of your family, and be vigilant. And will I get a gun? I don't know. I might just get self-defense lessons instead and just have like bear spray and stuff like that. And that's something. Or dog. I have a dog that's very sensitive. Now, I treat this dog like my own child. You don't have to treat a dog like meanly to make them mean so that they're going to go out and like attack, because that's not good. You want a happy dog, because the kind of dog that will fight for you is the kind of dog that loves you. This dog loves me. I know I don't have to worry. This dog eats well, sleeps well. This morning I woke up and I've got a pillow and I have a second pillow. And I like woke up and he's like rolled over on my pillow. I roll over and I see this dog. I got a second dog that's like my fun dog. This big, small dog, But this dog's scrappy too. And if this dog sees me in pain, I'm sure this dog will take down whomever as well. Like my dog will be like, buddy, you go high, I go low. And they will both fight for me. So don't be like one of my relatives that train their mastiff to be mean, and then their mastiff promptly attacked me, and I still have scars from my neck all the way down to my ankle. Don't be like that. Be the one that treats the dog well. Like, the dogs sometimes eat better than me. Like, I was like hungry 2 days ago because I was like, oh, I just don't feel like eating. But I was like, I still got to make them food. And I was like looking at their food. They have chicken and rice mixed in with their kibble. And I was like, man, that chicken looks good. Man, I wish I can get some of that rice. Ooh. And I'm thinking about getting them getting steaks when they're on sale, and then cutting them up in little cubes. And then like on Sundays, they can have cube steak. Okay? Like, I treat my dogs well. You want to treat them well, and train them. You get the little, go to Chewy's. Not Amazon, because we don't do Amazon anymore. Chewy supports DEI. Amazon does not. So go to Chewy's, CHEWY.com, Chewy, and you go ahead and get like those bag of treats, the ones for training, not the big ones. It's like these dogs love this stuff. Snack stick. They love this. But I would never give them this for a treat unless I cut it up into like 100 pieces. And that's what I do, is I'll cut it into little tiny pieces and then cut them. And then I put it into a treat bag, and this will last me for like 3 weeks. And so you can train your dogs by giving them treats and having them associate certain things with the treat, positive things with the treat. So you can train them right so that they don't react unless they know they need to react. And so you can have well-trained dogs. You can. How's my eggs doing? They're still doing good. But yeah, train your dogs and train them well and treat them well. And don't get a dog if you live someplace where they don't allow it. Because then if you have to give the dog up, it turns into a bad situation. And we don't want to do that. And you don't have to shop. I always say adopt, don't shop. If you are going to adopt a dog and you're not sure, don't, and let me just preface this by, don't like get married, get a dog, love on the dog, and then one day decide like, oh, I want to have a baby, so I'm going to just give up the dog. Don't do that. Dogs, especially if you train them early, they will be okay. And if you are not one of those people that can be sure to do that, and I'm not penalizing you. If you want to have kids, have all the kids you want in the world. But don't bring a dog into the equation if you can't bring them into the equation. Because it confuses dogs, and dogs become attached to you. They are family members. I don't care what other people say. They are family members. And they are confused and scared and frightened and messed up in the head when suddenly they get dumped or left in the woods or whatever. Don't do that. So if you are not that person that can provide the stability, if you don't have an apartment, if you think that you're going to have kids and you can't handle your dog being around those kids, don't get a dog. Sorry, I don't mean to yell, but it makes me so angry when I see those people doing that stuff. Don't get the dog. And then be willing to take the time to train. And don't get a pup. Here's what you're not going to do. Don't get a puppy because you're like, oh, like puppies are small and so cute. And they're not. Because dogs grow. Just like children and people. They grow. And then they're not as cute as they are as puppies. And then people are bringing them back because they're getting too big or they're getting too rambunctious. Get a dog. If you're not sure, here's what you could do. If you can get a dog and you've met all the criteria that I specified, and you still want to get a dog, great. And you're not sure, foster. Because God knows the shelters are all full and they're overfull and they're euthanizing animals all over the United States because people aren't spaying or neutering their dogs and they need to. And so if you're like, you know what, I want to get a dog, but I'm just not sure, then foster a dog. And you can foster a dog short-term or long-term at any number of shelters. It's like try before you buy. And then if you decide that you want the dog, then you can simply call them. And the majority of them are not going to say, oh, a foster fail. No, we can't do that. No. They love foster fails. I was a foster fail. And this dog right here that lays on the pillow next to me was a foster fail. I had no intention of taking this dog and keeping this dog. I had every intention of giving this mutt back. This mutt with medical needs that I took on because they needed somebody who could take on a medical needs dog. And I was like, okay. And I took the dog and I hardened my heart and I brought him home. And then that night, he looked at me with the sad eyes. I rolled over and he jumped into bed and I was like, he's never leaving. And he never did. And then, but it took me like 5 weeks to get to that point because I kept making excuses of why I'm not going to bring him back. And then finally I was like, okay, I'm bringing him in. And I brought the money and I paid for him and I adopted this dog. And please don't get a dog if you can't afford medical payments. So either you're going to do one of two things. You get a dog, you're going to take $75, if it's a younger dog, you're going to take $75 a month. and put it into a savings account that's for your dog and nothing else. Because at some point down the line, years, it's going to take years, this dog is going to get sick. And if you don't live someplace else at this point, don't live in Europe, or you don't live in Africa, or whatever, because dog vet bills are high here and they're really expensive. So if you are here, at some point you're going to need those thousands of dollars that's going to be adding up in your account. And then you're going to be thankful. When the dog gets about 5 years old, if it's a young dog, increase it to $100 a month. And you're going to pay that. And then when your dog gets sick, you can go to that fund, not if you have to take him in for checkups, just if he gets sick for some reason. That's what your emergency rainy day fund is. And then you can always cover a dog and having a dog. If you're like Nike, I can't do that, that's fine. Then get insurance for your dog. Lemonade is a good one. Trupanion is a good one. Those are the two that I've heard of that are the best, that I haven't heard of people having a fight to get their money back. MetLife, I had to fight them. Never will go with them again. 24 Pet Watch, love them. They paid without hesitation. They sent me a sympathy card when my dog died. My old dog, he was like really old, and made sure that I had my insurance canceled and paid out the insurance, but they no longer insure dogs anymore. They're just keeping like my dog, legacy dog, on until like those dogs die, and then they're done with doing that. But please take care of your dogs, because just like people, they have medical needs as well, dental needs and health needs. And please just go adopt, not shop. Go to a shelter. If you're not sure, foster, whatever. Okay, this is getting really long, and I'm pretty sure that the majority of people are not going to watch all the way to the end. So I'm going to leave it at that. Please take care of yourselves. Oh, here's what I was going to say. Make sure your gas tank. This is what I always do. I start with my tank at full. When it gets to the halfway point, I fill it all the way back up. If you have to leave it a moment's notice, you don't want to have your gas tank at halfway unless, and like towards the end, getting towards empty. Don't do that, because then everybody's going to be going to the gas station, and you are going to be stuck in those gas lines. You're going to run out of gas waiting for gas. Good luck. I always keep my tank on full, or as close to full as I can. When it gets halfway, I take it back to full. The only time I don't is when I have to go visit my podunk relatives out in the middle of nowhere, because the gas is cheaper there. I'll go all the way out, run it all the way down, fill it out there, and then come back. And then, keep it mostly full. And then fill it all the way up. So get that. Have cable jumpers. If you can even go one step further and get the ones that they have at the AAA, where they have the huge like battery and the cable jumpers, you just put it even better. I've got one of those. They last for years. Get canned food, get a dog. I said that. I can't read my own handwriting. Build a phone tree. Do check-ins with your friends and relatives, especially if they're in rural areas or they're kind of far out. Just do check-ins. It could get worse over time. For us, get healthy, and I'm going to mention a few places for you to go to get your news. Please avoid MSNBC fired like all these like people of color. No white people, just people of color. So you know what? I'm not going to go to MSNBC anymore. I'm not even for Rachel What's-Her-Face, Maddow. I'm not even for her. So here's what I recommend. The Defiant Lawyers. The black lawyer. And he tells it like it is. And he tells you what's coming up. And he's got a plan. Because Democrats don't have a plan. So he's like, I got a plan. Tabitha Speaks Politics. I don't know if you've seen her. I like her. She gets straight to the point. She's not like me. She's not talkative. But she does do some live stuff. But please, I'm going to recommend that you avoid the legacy media. What am I talking about? NBC, ABC, CBS, MSNBC, Fox. They're just all they're happy about these news cycles. They're happy when stuff goes wrong. They're happy Trump is in charge because they want news that they can report on and keep in the news cycles to keep us going, to freak us out more. Don't fall for it. Here's where I got BBC News. I love BBC News. You know why? Because when Katrina was happening, Hurricane Katrina happened, I didn't know anything about it. I found out from watching BBC News. I was watching BBC News, and then they started talking about people. I saw people, and they were standing with signs. I didn't know what was going on. I'm just like in the background. I look over. I see black people with signs that was saying, "Help! I need water. I'm hungry." And then people saw the camera, and the camera was zooming past all these people, and they were just screaming, "Help! Help! Help!" And I was like, what is going on? I turned up the TV, and I was like, wait, what? There's a hurricane? And all these people? I had no idea. It took BBC News to report it, because they weren't reporting it in the legacy news. They're letting these people in the Superdome die. They're letting them starve, go hungry, get raped, like all this stuff that was going on, peeing in seats and stuff, and not having anybody. It was just crazy. So I trust BBC News. I trust NPR. I trust PBS. If you're like, you know what, I don't like PBS, I don't know what's going on. I'm pretty sure this is some kind of maggot plot about PBS, because all of a sudden, like, you know, Orange Savior doesn't like PBS. But if you're like, hey, I'm not sure about PBS, guess what? WHUR, which is Howard University radio station, WHUR. They also have WHUR on PBS. They have their own PBS station. WHUR. Just Google it. Now, the final thing I'm going to say to you before I get off here, and I still can't read what this was. Get something. I don't know what it was. Yes, Google has this website. Google it. It's called Results About You. I will put it into my description. Results About You. You can go to the website called Results About You, and yes, you have to give up your information. But Results About You will go through the internet, and it will find, for all the information that you give them, like if you give them your email, your phone number, your addresses, whatever, they're going to go through the internet, and it's just going to crawl the internet, and they're going to find any information that's about you that's on the internet. At that point, they're going to give you a report, and they're going to give you the option of deleting that information permanently off the internet, so that your information is not out there anymore, at least not on the Google engines, not on their search engines. And so I did that, and I will see if this works. They said it could take hours. I'm sure it could. There's zettabytes of data out there at this point, and so it probably will take them days. I would suggest that you do that. We need to do that. Delete ourselves off of anything that's personal, that they don't need to have out there on us. You need to take it down. Have it taken down. Because I was hacked in the worst way, and I was kind of surprised, because I was like, hey, I'm in IT. What? But I realize now I make mistakes. My VPN is on now. But someone hacked into my Facebook page. I lost my Facebook page. I lost my Instagram. And I could see that the attack was just going on and on and on, because it wasn't even my Instagram. It was one. It was my business Instagram. But I have another 2 Instagrams. And I could see when I went to my email, like over and over again, somebody was trying to like get like a password reset over and over again, like every day in the middle of the night when I was asleep, like 1, 2, 3 in the morning, they were doing this. And so finally I had to go in and do like all of this stuff to lock it down, 2-factor, and I had to change the names, and I had changed the like my URLs and everything, and finally it stopped. So somebody got a hold of my personal information, and I looked at my Norton, because I have Norton, and Norton was saying that somebody had access to my password. So I had to change all my passwords for everything. So, I mean, these are things that you need to do in order to stay safe. I know this went really long. Again, if you made it all the way to the end of this video, God bless you. If you did, please drop something in the chat that says I made it to the end. Woo! I wish I could give you something, but I don't have anything to give you. It's going to take a while to upload, and but I will get it out there. And I hope that if you did watch the whole video, that you found it useful. That you did find it useful, and you will do things to help yourself. Okay, so long video. Was it TLDR? Too long didn't read. This is Coffee Brown. I am signing off. My channel, Coffee Spills the Tea. Like the video. If you made it all the way to the end, you like this video, please like it. Subscribe to my channel. Spread this to other people. Let other people know it's out here. I promise my next one, I will make it short. Because you saw my last one. It was short. It was like 15 minutes. I think a little less. I had a lot to say, though, and I knew this next one was going to be long. So I will try to make the next one short. I'll alternate a long and a short. But in the meantime, this is Coffee. I am now signing off, and you all have a great day. Bye.